The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists, Blake Anderson, cryptographic economist.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me.
And live in the studio, Jeffrey Jones from the Bitcoin News Show.
Thanks so much, Thomas, for having me and for putting me up in your place, having an absolute time in San Francisco, listening to people talk about ICOs behind my shoulder in restaurants.
Tone Vase from Liberty Life Trail.
Awesome to be here as well. Thank you for the jacket.
And I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to issue one, if everyone could give us a thumbs up and a share, that will help more people find the show. And now, issue one. SEC concludes the DAO was a security. The SEC sent a powerful warning to investors and the cryptocurrency community that the innovative technology behind virtual transactions does not exempt security offerings and trading platforms from the regulatory framework designed to protect investors and the integrity of the markets. They are not, however, pressing charges against the now defunct DAO. Blake Anderson, your thoughts on the SEC's announcement?
I think that it's not a huge surprise for people that were paying attention to the space. I mean, I've been kind of saying that this goes even deeper than regulation, almost kind of into contract law, mutual assent, meeting of the minds, understanding that what you're purchasing and trading is a security instead of some kind of literal token with an operational connotation. You can't just call your, securities trading endeavor produce stand and expect to be immune from people looking at it and identifying it for what it is and classifying it for what it is. So I hope this sends at least a message to the future in terms of if you are trying to make something that behaves like a security and call it something else, that's not going to fly. I think that them not going after funds that would be really hard to collect in terms of the DAO case makes sense. But some people might disagree with me there and might actually want firmer action.
Just changing the name to blockchain and token was not enough. Jeffrey Jones.
Well, some people thought it was enough, right? Some people thought this was trying to get around securities law. No problem. This hasn't been trying to be happening. This hasn't been attempted for the last 100 years or anything like that. So people they tried to fool a lot of people, and of course, some people got fooled. We're still watching this ICO thing unfold in front of everybody. Everybody gets to watch this real time and live. So it's really interesting to watch. And the SEC statement was really interesting about how light touch it was. Relatively light touch. They said they weren't going after anybody, right? So it's interesting to watch this play out the way that we all kind of, and the WCN kind of thought. We all kind of thought. I mean, to Tone's credit, to a lot of people's credit, Christy Rose, we saw this coming, right? We knew at some point that at least the DAO had to be declared a security. We knew what it was because obviously if it looks like a duck, we quacks like a duck, we know what's going on. So it's good to finally have some clarity, but it's still a little bit more of the Wild West. Hopefully just a more cautious Wild West, but it's still a Wild West. And so we have a lot of stuff to watch, a lot of stuff to come. And it's just kind of really exciting to watch all this go down and to watch some people like Tone and some others like Christy Rose, some other people get vindicated. This is really great. And, it really is going to take out all of the crap, hopefully, and really just leave us with the best of the projects to getting funding.
And as Jeff said earlier, we are in the midst of a sort of ICO fever. We were eating breakfast, and at the booth next to us, they were talking about ICOs, and they were pitching an ICO, and they just flown in. And it's like Los Angeles around here. Everyone's pitching a movie script. Everyone's involved. But now it seems to be these ICOs. Tone Vase, your thoughts on the SEC's decision?
All right, so I don't think it was really a decision of any kind. It was just a report on their opinion. And because it was just a report on an opinion, they just wanted to make it clear not to start a panic that no one is going after anyone in this case. Also, in the case of the DAO, there isn't really anyone to go after. This would be a terrible cost-benefits analysis if they waste government resources trying to go after Steven Tual and the Slockit team. But the next time they try to raise something, I mean, they'll probably give them a nice phone call. There were also some weird things, even in the outline of the report. I haven't had time to read the report, unfortunately, but even in the public statement of the report, they referred to Ethereum as a currency in that summary. And that made no sense to me because I don't see a difference between the DAO and Ethereum other than one got hacked and one voluntarily forked and cost 2 coins. Other than that, like the way the securities were generated in the form of the DAO and in the form of the Ethereum pre-sale is pretty much the same. So if the DAO is a security, I don't understand how Ethereum is not a security. Yet Ethereum could be used as cash, but the DAO could have been also used as currency. And this is where I'm against your token having multiple functionalities, because then you open yourself up to multiple jurisdictions. So I don't think people should read too much into that little sentence that calls Ethereum a currency in their outline. The other very interesting thing that was stated in the report is that once your token has been declared to be a security, any exchange that has been trading that token is also liable for trading an unlicensed, unregistered security. So this should set a little bit of a panic over at places like Bittrex and Poloniex, and something like, what do you call them, Coinbase and DAX. And I've always said, and I was even quoted in CBS, in a CBS article where I said it's so dumb for GDAX and Coinbase to branch out to altcoins and ICOs. Branching out to an altcoin like Litecoin or Monero is actually kind of okay. They're not going to be securities. But anything that was created out of thin air and sold in a pre-sale, like an Ethereum, has a much higher chance of being a security. So why do you want to take that regulatory risk? Now, of course, they want the money from the fees, so they have to compete. Otherwise, they might as well shut down the company. And Coinbase is giving people a terrible experience. Someone was actually this morning, just an example of Coinbase, someone was sending me some Bitcoin from their Coinbase account, and I got a text message saying sent with a screenshot, and then I replied back 30 minutes later and said, I don't see it. And then the person goes, oh, Coinbase still has it as pending. And I'm like, oh, maybe this is why people are complaining that Bitcoin is slow. Because when I send a Bitcoin payment from my wallet to another wallet that isn't Coinbase, within 3 seconds, you get a notification of funds being received. Exactly.
Absolutely.
But literally, I had a payment sent to me from a Coinbase wallet, and it's somewhere in the ether. Like, so it's like a terrible Bitcoin experience for people. So I mean, I don't know how much more bad I can talk about that company.
Well, and Coinbase is the same one offering the people of Cuba the Bitcoin experience of having their money and then losing their money, which we say can't happen to them, but we mean if you make paper wallets and hardware wallets and you store them safely, etc. But yeah, you're right, Tone. It would be a per count on the charges. So Poloniex, etc., would be guilty of a per share sales fine, potentially
per share across God knows how many assets, right?
Per share and each coin.
So Poloniex can actually get like a cumulative fine that's larger than like their entire cash savings, and this puts huge pressure on something like that. And what we just seen with BTC-e, you go after them with a huge fine, and the Bitcoin's gone.
It is. It got hacked.
It's gone.
It got hacked.
Gone.
It's gone.
What the BTC-e
couldn't have been avoided.
Well, no, I mean, if something happens, how can you prove that it wasn't an inside job?
Exit scam. I mean,
if it looks like it was a good time for the money to disappear and it disappeared, oh boy, it looks bad. I hate to be in there because it's hard to prove a negative, right? It's impossible.
Exactly. So you have to be real. Like, if you weren't careful enough before keeping your Bitcoin on an altcoin exchange, you have to be even more careful now. You know, and what does this even mean for somebody like somebody like Eric Voorhees and Shapeshift? They don't hold any inventory other than the speculative nature that they get a bunch of inventory up front just so they can add the coin and profit from the pre-sale and stuff, like just to get it listed there. And if he gets nailed for that, he could get nailed for insider trading, because if it's a security, if token X is deemed as a security by the SEC, then all of the insider trading laws, which people aren't even sure about, would instantly retroactively apply because that is now a security. Let's hope.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. That the regulatory framework that deals with securities would then retroactively, or even just from that point forward, apply. I think that's correct.
Right. And that's going to be a problem for a lot of these exchanges. So, I mean, this is great for Bitcoin because thank you again, Jason Seibert, who during the Bitcoin Savings and Trust trial got the SEC to admit on the record that Bitcoin isn't a security. Yeah. And I think this is going to end extremely well for Bitcoin. And there will be a flippening, and it's going to be from altcoins into Bitcoin, like I've always said.
It's also worth noting on the definitions, Tone, that the legal definition for corporations being a people came from the head notes of a case. So these early definitions, such as Ethereum being a currency, are important because they may set precedents. So if the SEC wants to change their mind on that, they should issue another report soon. Let's move on to the exit question. Exit question: will the SEC announcement cause a significant reduction in the number of ICOs in the next 6 months? Blake Anderson, yes or no?
A significant reduction. I don't know. With the amount of popularity that with the oxygen being poured on the fire at the same time as their fire extinguisher, it's anybody's bet. It's like liquid nitrogen and lava coming together to meet, and it's like, which one's going to win? It's like, I don't know. There's going to be an explosion. So that's my prediction. There's going to be an explosion somewhere. And, you know, I think that a lot of people are actually hoping that the regulation has an effect. I guess I'm more in the category of I want our self-imposed regulations to have an effect. I want our knowledge of the space to go out and encourage people to engage in self-regulation, not to launch an ICO that's not tenable. Believe in the idea more than you want to make a whole bunch of money back. Try to, you know, have investors that you know that you're in a relationship with that are hopefully accredited. Like, do it in that way. Don't just go out and try to make a whole bunch of money with an ICO. That's what we're trying to prevent, is people that are trying to go out and get attention without anything to say.
Jeffrey Jones, more or less ICOs in the next 6 months?
I think that we're going to create an ICO to help protect ICOs from ICOs. That could actually possibly be it's going to be really crazy. I really agree with Tone about how these Poloniex type exchanges with God knows how many assets are probably going to end up exit scamming at some point. And again, all that value will be coming back to Bitcoin. So it's really only a matter of time, as Blake said. The gasoline's been set, the fire is lit, and so now we just wait for the explosion. So, but you know, I really was kind of thinking that because of the SEC's such light touch on the regulation, like we could see a whole nother year at least of this craziness. But the fact of the matter is that the laws are going to put pressure on the exchanges, and so now we're just going to wait because the ball is really in the exchange's court at this point.
Tone Vase, will the public heed the SEC's warning on the ICOs?
I think they will. I think this will put a little bit of throw a foot on the brakes for a short amount of time, and the biggest beneficiaries of this are going to be the lawyers. So I think now a lot of these ICOs that thought they can just like sneak in and get it out there before any kind of ruling will now have to regroup and find a lawyer and try to figure out exactly what they're doing. My suggestion for your ICOs is not to, some people saying, oh, you have to make it an app token. And I am against the app token idea. I'm more of your token just needs to represent something tangible, and all your ICO is doing is allowing an easier means of moving this asset around. And this asset needs to be something that isn't all that illicit, because you are a centralized entity. People have to realize that these ICOs are centralized entities. They're like corporations. They're not really anonymous. So it's your best bet. I just think that it's economically not useful to have an app token. It just makes no economic sense. So now you're down to, okay, my token has to represent something tangible, but that tangible has to be something legal. And then moving it around in a legal way can make your life easier and get around some of the funding restrictions if people like your idea. I think that's the directions they should be going. Let's see if they go there. But the brakes are definitely on, because now everyone has to lawyer up.
I've been advising several companies to do a vertical implementation, maybe decentralized, and having this, this blockchain that you are either in too much control of from a regulatory standpoint or not in control of enough from a company operation standpoint. Perhaps vertical implementation is superior to a blockchain use case in a lot of these areas. And that's not a popular thing to say in the space, but it's just plain true.
It just seems that people don't realize yet that all these ECR20 tokens, I mean, they are on the top of a network that's not sustainable. It's definitely not scalable yet, for sure. I think we can all agree that this is not ready to scale to the planet yet. But yet these tokens are becoming worth billions. And again, they're based off of this Ethereum blockchain that's not mutable. So it's based off of something that's really not real. If you want to create tokens and such, you know, over the top of Bitcoin that pin to Bitcoin, okay, maybe something there might be useful there. But this is crazy because we're putting much more risk on top of something that's already insane risk, and you're just compounding the risk. And people just don't seem to realize this yet. And it's when they do, it's going to all come crashing down.
And the thing they built on top, everything you just said, I agree with technologically. And on top of that, their ICO might not be a security, but it's possible that it's tied to an unlicensed, unregistered security. Now, what does that mean for your legit ICO that isn't the security, sitting and connected to an unlicensed, unregistered security that may get popped?
And again, just the scaling issue. I mean, we saw how one ICO can bring down the whole network. How can you tell me that a company is worth billions on a network that can't sustain more than one ICO a day?
And we're not even talking an ICO raises all this money and then it disappears.
Yeah, of course.
But if you kept it out.
And like Tone and many other people have been saying, you know, there has been an ICO hack like almost every week. Like it's now a weekly thing because this thing is not production ready and people are selling it as it is. There has been a hack on ICOs almost every week, and there will continue to be more. There will continue to be more hacks until people get the point.
And this even goes back to stuff that we learned before Bitcoin was invented, when eGold got seized because they had physical, tangible backing assets for their currency, and then that allowed a failure point for the government to come and seize. So it's funny now to see ICOs coming out with ideas that we already knew didn't work before Bitcoin because these people are getting in and don't know the entire history.
And then a closing note, these ICOs are raising money. Yeah, we know about the famous hacks that drain the entire wallet, but we don't know if there are leaks and this money is being hacked every day from every ICO, and we don't know about it, and even they may not even know about it, right? Because the money is sitting there in Ether, the money is sitting there in Bitcoin, it's unregulated, it's uninsured, and there's no checks on it. So how do you know that there literally isn't every single ICO being slowly hacked for like $100 worth of Ether a day?
It's such sloppy instantiation too, because there should be multi-sig, there should be accounts which are auditable from the outside where people can see and start to ring alarm bells if something goes wrong. I mean, we should have definite, you know, a set of best practices that become our regulation that's voluntary for us to, you know, engage in, and we should really be pushing that and, you know, helping to get people to understand if you have a good idea, don't do what those people did.
And just remember, you know, the people that are creating and have these 0 days and these attacks, it's now their best incentive to just hold and continue to let the populace come in, put their money in, and only do little hacks, $8 million here, $5 million here. It's in their best interest to just keep that going until people finally realize that this thing is not production ready yet.
Yeah, it's like a hedging your bets.
Noting that the number one threat against ICOs now will be hacking. Not that they fail to complete their project, that they lose the funds that they were trusted with. I'd just like to thank everyone for watching. We've got 460 live viewers. If everyone could give us a thumbs up and a share. And then while you're here, go ahead and subscribe to the World Crypto Network right down below. But we're moving on to issue 2. Issue 2, BTC-e fined $110 million for money laundering. BTC-e, the venerable anonymous exchange, is down. They've been fined $110 million for their alleged part in a money laundering operation that included coins hacked from Mt. Gox, Bitfloor, Bitcoinica, and the operator of BTC-e, Alexander Vinnik, a Russian national, has been arrested in Greece, charged with 17 counts of money laundering and 2 counts of engaging in unlawful monetary transactions. Jeffrey Jones. Will this action cause a chilling effect on ransomware, as hackers will no longer be able to easily cash out their ill-gotten gains?
So my opinion on this is that it's not going to slow down at all. In fact, it's going to do the opposite and continue to accelerate because the internet is fundamentally broken. Our systems are fundamentally broken. They're running on Windows NT. And Blake will attest to this, you know, more than anybody as a security researcher expert. You'll be able to see that these freaking systems are running these ancient operating systems, and they don't care. because they never had to protect money before. They only had to protect some data that they probably had in a backup anyway. There was no incentive for hackers to come in here and hack hospitals. There was no incentive for them to go and hack systems that are dependent on the city, like subways and such, and on and on and on, because that's where they know that they will pay the ransom. And so the security problem is still there. That's the underlying issue, is the security issue. Then you pair that with an incentive structure like Bitcoin, where with anonymous cash, basically, and you're going to basically completely rip open the security system. So that's not going to change. Now, we all know that BTC-e was the place. Of course, it was an anonymous freaking exchange. So of course, a lot of dirty stuff went down there, but it will find another home. And what people don't realize is how big the OTC market is. If they don't know, if they can't get their money out into an exchange, they'll probably know somebody who knows somebody that will buy some Bitcoin. It's just the way it is. The OTC market is absolutely huge, and it's continuing to rise with the price of Bitcoin. And so it's just not hard. There's so many Bitcoin exchanges out there. There's so much Bitcoin in the OTC markets, and there's still so much horrible security across this country and across the world that we've only seen just the tip of the iceberg of this stuff.
Tone Vays, your thoughts on the BTC-e situation?
All right, so I think there'll be a huge ramification from this. So the fact that BTC-e is now going to take the money and run, I mean, that's obvious. I mean, there's no, we've talked about this. This is why you don't store your coins on exchanges, okay? Let's talk about the ramifications of it.
They're coming back, Tone. They say they're coming back.
I'll be surprised. I'll be surprised if they come back, but I'm not expecting them to come back. But so Alexander Vinnick, so he is accused of being a hacker, not only of hacking Mt. Gox, but hacking other exchanges. And then literally he's running BTC-e as an anonymous exchange in order to clean all of the Bitcoin that he's hacking from other exchanges, which is actually kind of genius in a way. Here's the biggest problem and the biggest fallout from this. Was it Chainalysis that did the analysis?
Chainalysis. We also have WizSec, Bitcoin
WizSec,
security assistant, especially in making this chart.
Yeah, throw that up.
I'm not exactly sure what that chart is, but I haven't had time to dive into it.
Where all the cool transactions.
Right. So here's the fallout that I see. Okay, people, I remember like 6 months to a year ago, the boogeyman was Bitcoin is not anonymous enough. Bitcoin is not fungible enough. This is a problem. And people like me, gave hell to companies like Chainalysis. Okay. And then it kind of died down with the scaling debate because we had a bigger fish to deal with. And now that SegWit is almost in, and the big blockers are still a problem, so they're still priority number one. If the big blockers are no longer a problem, which God willing, this is going to become priority number one, because right now this is priority number two. And people are going to realize that, whoa, they can actually track where the coins went. So here's the potential ramification that I see it. You can tie these Mt. Gox coins that they were cleaned through BTC-e, and say a big chunk of them ended up on Poloniex. And then you know exactly which user on Poloniex is sitting on this Mt. Gox hacked coin. Does the US legal jurisdiction have the ability to then go to Poloniex and says, you have to freeze this guy's account? We know for a fact he is sitting on Mt. Gox coins. Do they have that precedent? And if they have that precedent, there could be major fallout when it comes to exchanges. Holding other people's coins, if you know there's a direct link to those coins having belonged to someone else. This will put fungibility and things being anonymous on Bitcoin back in the spotlight. And you kind of want that, but you kind of don't, because I have this horrible vision that once the big blockers fail in their quest for big blocks, they're going to need to find another boogeyman in order to push core out. And they're going to start screaming that Bitcoin is not fungible enough and the core is doing too slow and they're doing it the wrong way. And our three developers have a better solution to the Bitcoin fungibility problem. And so that the coins aren't traceable, and you have to trust us, and you have to use our fork. And here's our new client, Bitcoin Anonymous, and it's all going to be BA, and it will be the same people. So I'm coining the term right here. BU is dead, and the next one is going to be BA, Bitcoin Anonymous. That's going to be the next movement that we're going to have to deal with, putting out fires. And then once there is a good solution from Core on the fungibility, like Mimblewimble, they're going to come up with some other insanity why it's bad and why their miners need to block it, and why their solutions of, I don't know, God knows what they're going to put in the Bitcoin Anonymous client is the real solution. That this is the future that I see Bitcoin headed over the next 12 to 18 months.
Well, at least BA is
Anderson, do we need Bitcoin Anonymous?
BA is a much more clever name than blind carbon copy. I think that's improving anyway. So at least their names are getting better if they do go in that way. But yeah, fungibility attacks and stuff like that. Like there's a serial number, like there's numbers on dollars that you can remember. And then if they get stolen and then they get traded to somebody else, you can be like, that's a stolen dollar that you got it from. You can tell that person, but you can't take that from that person. I think that the same thing would apply to Bitcoins. People might be able to be like, hey, I want to test your activity. But I don't think they're going to try to take rightfully gotten Bitcoin from a third party unless they were involved somehow in the laundering process, which, you know, also might get hairy as well. I mean, you know, that could be a problem for Bitcoin.
They could blacklist them. If they blacklisted the Bitcoin or labeled them like color coin speculation, we could see a class system.
Hey, can I counter that a little bit, Blake?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, this kind of regulation is already on the books. For example, when I was buying my gold coins from my local gold dealer, he was buying people's gold and jewels off the street. So anyone off the street can come in and sell them, you know, gold ring, you know, silver coins. And I was sitting in there because we were talking, and then anytime someone comes in to sell his gold, he gives them gold or silver, he gives them a price, and then the guy says, okay, I'll sell it to you. So he goes, give me your driver's license, I have to make a photocopy. Why does he do that? He's not reporting him to the federal government. Those are local jurisdictions. So he has to take a photocopy of the guy selling him Bitcoin on the street. Gold off the street. He then has to hold the inventory of gold for a minimum of 2 weeks. And this is a problem for a lot of gold dealers because they're unhedged. They can't immediately flip the gold ring. They can't even sell it to like a melter. They have to sit on the gold ring for 2 weeks because local police can show up and they say, we have a robbery report and these are the things that were described to be robbed. Can we please see your inventory the last 2 weeks that you've bought off the street? And if something in that inventory matches what was potentially stolen, that is confiscated by the authorities without any reimbursement. That is the risk a gold dealer takes on. I can see that regulation being applied to Bitcoin, and that can definitely scare people from this kind of an exchange thing and holding it on their own and waiting for these more fungible solutions.
I agree, and that's a risk, but at the same time, gold is physically tangible. You can come and you can get that. KYC AML restrictions that are on various different exchanges make it so that the block time combined with knowing who you are make it so that almost the same thing is happening in Bitcoin outside of BTC-e. So I think that what you're right is what we have to do is avoid that situation coming to pass, but at the same time, there's different factors that make it so that Bitcoin can survive in a robust and secure fashion, cooperating with law enforcement without having to have that 2-week period or without having to have these big reversals. Secondly, going to actually collect the stuff, trying to enforce what you're talking about would be very, very, very difficult.
An exchange,
it's
not on an exchange. It's very easy to enforce it on Coinbase. You just say lock this guy's account.
Correct.
And it's very difficult to enforce on the individual level. It's difficult for them to come to you and get it because then they have to get a judge to put you in jail on contempt of court until you turn over the evidence. And
so where it becomes really hairy is local Bitcoins, because then do they come after the people that are running the deals that are made with local Bitcoins because they are not as compliant as. So that's where it becomes a really big issue. I agree that that's where we have to start to watch for if there's too heavy of regulation that starts to have a chilling effect.
Moving on to the exit question. What country will the next BTC-e be in? Jeffrey Jones.
The next exit scam. Oh man, to be honest, I'm really not sure, Thomas. But We know that the exchanges in countries like Venezuela are doing extremely well. There's premiums across all of those places. You know, Bitcoin's going to continue to thrive in the countries where their governments are the most oppressive with their finances, with the money, with the currencies. And it's going to just continue to explode in there. So we will have a lot more exit scams. Like I said, but this is really the bottom line is that we have Bitcoin now. This is the world that we live in. And so it's going to continue to reshape society, reshape the world, reshape how we do security, reshape how we build computers, bring in an era of trusted hardware. And so all of that's going to come to pass. And so during that time, there will be some more of these exit scams and these things. But now with regulations starting to come in, you know, they're going to be fewer and far between over time. But we've got years of this stuff left. It's still early days, as I like to say on my show all the time. It really is early days. We just now got the first light touch regulation on ICOs. I mean, this is going to be here for years.
The country called Earth. What a cop-out, naming a planet. Tone Vase, name a country.
So I'm actually going to go with China, and I'm going to go more specific. I'm just going to use like past history as a representation of like future. And I tried not to pick on Roger Ver in these episodes, but it's just bad luck that he was, you know, in the middle of being not involved, but somewhat vouching for Mt. Gox, and that turned out to be a disaster. And then he's on the Jihan Wu side, and then Bitmain turned out to be a disaster between ASIC boost and all that stuff. And now he's like obviously following via BTC and their new exchange and how they're trying to sucker in people's Bitcoins in order to trade them in their futures market. And I just Roger Ver is just the worst luck of you know, being you know, I guess
on the wrong side of history.
Right. He's just on the wrong side of companies that he somewhat supports. And like his support for via BTC is going to be, I have a feeling there's going to be bad luck again, and via BTC is going to be the next potential BTC-e style exit scam.
Blake Anderson, name a country.
I would say, name a country. No, I have to have a diatribe here. No, India. I think that what we need to talk about is regulation, and people say, you know, let's have things regulated so that we can, you know, have what's going on be fair. And then other people are like, well, let's have a market of competition where people learn not to be fleeced, and we have self-imposed regulation, which is really the way that regulation is supposed to be. And people say that, even though it sounds kind of crazy, because regulation that isn't like that becomes capture-oriented. A famous economist once said, once a market is regulated, the first things bought and sold are those regulators. So that's why a lot of people are not wanting a whole lot of regulation in Bitcoin, which I can appreciate. And there's another group of people that say, okay, well, some minimal regulation in terms of let's not call, you know, a token that's a security, not a security. I mean, I can understand it from both points, but I think it is important to understand the risk of regulation in terms of you don't want capture to run rampant through your economy and create giant monopolies.
India, China, and Earth are excellent picks, but the next exchange will be in North Korea. But it won't look like it's in North Korea. That's the trick. North Korean hackers need a place to sell their Bitcoin. Where are they going to get rid of them? They're going to have their own exchange. Moving on to issue 3, Bitcoin Cash crash. Traitorous exchange via BTC and their despicable altcoin, Bitcoin Cash, continue to make the news with the incredible and dramatic collapse of their price, which has collapsed 26%. With virtually non-existent trading volume. And this is ahead of the planned sell-off on August 1st, once users can freely sell their Bitcoin Cash without having to deposit their Bitcoin in the questionable exchange. Tone Vase, is this the beginning of the end for Bitcoin Cash?
I mean, I never thought that it really had a beginning. I always thought of it as completely nuts. I don't understand why people thought that they would just get a bunch of free Bitcoin out of it. I was on a call this morning where I was just explaining to some people that no, I still have a less than a 50% probability there is even going to be a hard fork on August 1st. I think they're gonna find a way to weasel out of it, and they're gonna say there wasn't enough support, this and that. And we're not going to hard fork for the good of the community. We will just wait for the SegWit 2x part. I don't think it's going to happen, but there'll be another guy that's going to want to execute the code. I have like a million speculations on this. So to me, via BTC is just a subsidiary of Bitmain and potentially Bitcoin.com. And perhaps Bitmain has 5% of hashing power they are willing to give up and lose for a chance that it will be profitable. Now, how can that be profitable? Well, there's a small chance that that BTC coins will actually be valuable. There is another small chance that some other hashing power will come in, and they'll be able to sell different equipment to like different sides. If there is like a proof of work change, let's say on one of the chains, so they can sell more equipment. Another way is my silly speculation that Antpool will allow people on Antpool to mine BTC, and Bitcoin.com already said they will allow people to mine the BTC coins. So if a bunch of these pools are gonna allow people to mine BTC, and there is this media arm, because again, the people that are pushing for BTC have a lot of media control. They can actually profit from this if they can convince like some dumb miners to move their hashing power to BTC even for a day or two. That gives the people that were pushing for BTC coins and Bitmain would not move any of their hashing power to it, but they would let the idiots on their pool do it, so that they themselves would have a higher probability of mining real Bitcoin blocks. So they can actually make up for the loss of 5% of their hashing power. They give up the via BTC 5% hashing power. They convince 6% of all other Bitcoin hashing power to move over, and now they have a 1% advantage once again on mining traditional blocks. So this is like, yeah, I'm giving up $500 to this guy so I can make $600 from that guy. So there are ways for them to do it. I mean, I think this is totally silly. I'm going to close off on what I think it would do to the price. I think this whole BTC hard fork nonsense is the only thing that has kept Bitcoin from shooting up to $4,000, leading into the SegWit activation date, which has just been moved up to August 8th. I still think it's going to be August 11th for some reason. But one of my reasons is if they do hard fork to this stupid cash thing and 5 to 10% of mining power moves to it for a day or two, that would have less hash power on the original chain, hence slowing down the creation of blocks, pushing that date back out to my now famously predicted August 11th date from 3 years ago. So I'm still hoping for that in a way. I'm hoping to be right. However, what it would do to the price, if it wasn't for this hard fork coming in August 1st, can't blame the hat this time, right? Not us doing. This was smoothed over. I think this would have been mass buying into Bitcoin, and the SegWit activation on August 8th, August 11th, whatever, would have been a sell the news event. Like price would have been bid up just like in the halving. The price went up way before the halving, but the actual day of the halving, we were already down 15% like over the previous week. That would have been my scenario. Because of this hard fork scare and people like trying to get free Bitcoin, taking the money off exchanges, they don't want to trade. This has been depressing the price the last few weeks. Now, everyone's waiting for August 1st in 3 days. I think the price will be near all-time high going into August 1st. When this dumb disaster flops around August 2nd, August 3rd, there will be a mass rush back into Bitcoin where instead of SegWit activation being a sell event, sell the news event, it becomes a buy event because people were scared to speculate on SegWit because of external news. And now we have SegWit coming in, we have the hard fork dying out. This can drive the Bitcoin price to $4,000 to $5,000 in August into September, and then the drums for 2x, and you promised and you signed an agreement, the drums would start beating going into September, and then we take a little break once again.
Blake Anderson, can I interest you in a blind carbon copy?
Blind carbon copy? I mean, that's really like, let's make a blind carbon copy of a coin and then call it blind carbon copy and say that it's going to win out in the end. I think it's just very, very funny. It's kind of like, you know, a Freudian slip almost. I don't know. It's just really funny to me. I don't know. It's these people want to fork off. They want to get their altcoin This is one of the ways that you can make an altcoin that you can get in on, and if it's way low, you can try to go way up. Coins rarely fail and go completely away if there's this much attention on them and stuff. So I'm not as confident as Tone that it's not going to happen at all. But even if it does happen, I don't think that the long-term impact on Bitcoin is going to be serious. I don't think that anything that does not offer a categorically superior value proposition is not going to compete very well with Mac Daddy Bitcoin. So I guess those are my thoughts on it.
Jeffrey Jones, is 2 Bitcoins still better than 1?
So I think that we still have a lot of dumb money in this space. Call me crazy. I still think that there's a lot of people that don't understand the history of Bitcoin, don't understand the actual value proposition of Bitcoin, which of course is this open, decentralized, permissionless network, this monetary system outside of the state that could potentially rise up the entire planet, right? So people are still, they're just stuck in this, oh, dollar signs, Ethereum, dollar signs. A lot of people in the space are just wanting to know, Fluffy Pony really experiences this a lot, and he likes to troll people. People are asking him, what are you going to do? Ricardo, what are you going to do with Monero? I was just trolling somebody on Twitter the other day saying that the Vortex Investment Trust was very seriously thinking about becoming an affiliate or a member of the Monero Enterprise Alliance, and of course some guy bought it up completely like, oh really? What are you guys gonna do? Internet of Things? Which of course I promptly told
y'all
him.
Got any more of those enterprise alliances?
Which of course I promptly told him that of course, yes, the very first thing we're going to do is make sure that we produce the best software that toaster ovens can ever run. And so, we'll see what happens. But so what I'm thinking is that because of all the dumb money in the space is still here, there will be some people that will think that BCC might, or BCH, I'm not going to call it BCC, BCH, right, might actually have a mining community, have a community enough to give it a viable price. There really is, because people look at Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, they tend to always use this example, because this is kind of the only biggest example that we have. And they always point to say Ethereum and Ethereum Classic is combined value bigger than Ethereum was before. And so, there's a lot of people that think this might actually happen like that. Of course, all of the people, the hardcore people in Bitcoin, the people that have been here for years, we understand that this is just a fork altcoin. Anybody at any time for the past 8 years could come and just fork Bitcoin. So this is really, this possibility and probability has always been upon us, but never really executed. So this might actually be the first time that we get to see what happens when somebody tries to go ahead and fork Bitcoin and still call it Bitcoin. Hasn't been a whole lot of that yet. Obviously, Charlie Lee forked Bitcoin to create Litecoin and changed a few things, right? So, these people aren't going away anytime soon. So unfortunately, I believe that this crap altcoin might actually get a price somewhere and somebody willing to mine it. But it really is just not. It's just going to tank. It's just not. There's no way that it's sustainable for any type of multiple $100 value or something like that it's currently trading in the future. It's just ridiculous. Of course, now it's completely crashed. So if anybody is going to actually risk their Bitcoin by sending them to via BTC, I wish you luck, but understand that this is a public service. This is our own public service announcement. Don't freaking send your coins to via BTC, because you have no idea what this centralized entity is going to do. And so Vortex, it really is a toss up and an up in the air, a toss up at this point to figure out what's going to happen, because nothing like this has ever happened before. So everybody is just kind of trying to figure out what's going to happen. But what I can tell you is that this coin is not going to retain value. It does not have the developers that Bitcoin has. It has literally like 1 or 2 developers, that I've never heard of before. So, you just look at it, you just see what the hell is going to happen. I really don't think it's going to put that much pressure on Bitcoin at all, put that much, take the view away from Bitcoin, because we have seen that, like what Tone was saying, we have seen it tank the price a bit and multiple times. And they're always going to have something up their sleeve to try to bring down the price of Bitcoin, which they seem to be able to do temporarily. But yeah, this is just another attempt to bring the price down.
Hey, what's BCH?
So BCH is what Bitfinex, I believe, or one of those exchanges decided to call BCC, because BCC technically is already taken from another coin. So they couldn't list it as BCC. So they opted to instead list it as BCH.
So what does the H stand for?
No freaking clue.
Oh yeah, because I was kind of calling it BCS.
Oh, yeah.
Bitcoin
I
cash
think H was the first character they had available after the BC.
Basically what it is. That's basically what it is.
I was calling it the Bitcoin Cash Scam, BCS.
I like that better, Tone. I like that much better.
I want to ask you, Vortex. You had made a mention to low stakeholder money, or basically dumb money that's coming into the space. There's actually a chart of people that got involved in Bitcoin early, and the ratio of those people that went in to develop and try to learn more versus the ratio of people that learn about it later and that they do that. And there's like the deviation between people that are low information stakeholders versus the people that really get involved is like that divergence is growing exponentially all the time. What do you think about the impact later on of a whole bunch of stakeholders as all this new money flows into Bitcoin being extremely low information holders in terms of the network? Like, how do you think that's going to impact the future, Vortex? Because you pointed to it, and I think you're right.
So what I really think is that these people that are all in, in Ethereum and all in these other altcoins and in BTC or whatever it is, that these dumb things, they're not going to be able to be smart enough to get out. I think that they're all going to lose money when the stuff tanks, when Ethereum tanks, when BTC tanks. I think that because again, they're dumb money. It's dumb money. I really think.
So do you think that there's going to be a specific event where a perfect storm wave comes in and wipes these pigs out?
There's always going to be a perfect storm for Bitcoin, right? There's always a perfect storm event. We have a SegWit. That was a perfect storm event to get SegWit activated. There's always going to be something because the pressure and incentives are there to create these events, to make them come into being. You can literally bet and guarantee. I tried to tell people that things when SegWit earlier this year was activation was at its lowest. I tried to tell people there will be an event, there will be something that comes along and triggers, because this is how fast things can change in Bitcoin. Things change absolutely fast, and literally a month after I said that, we had UASF.
Yeah, tech speed is fast. It's almost like all the bulls and the bears are sitting in our pens, and all of the pigs are flooding into this one huge pen, and all the pigs are like, look at all you stupid bulls and bears. We're all like, that pen is not the pen that you want to be in. And they're all like, well, whatever. And then eventually when they all get slaughtered, we're going to be like, we tried to tell you not to go into that pen.
And remember, this is interesting now because this is Bitcoin 2. It won't be as fun when it's Bitcoin Ocho. So let's move on to the next topic. Also, I love the Internet of Things because it's where I keep all my stuff. So exit question, force prediction. Tone Vase, the price of Bitcoin Cash on August 2nd, 24 hours after the activation.
$5.
Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, it's going to be between $1 and $50 at the absolute most.
1 Satoshi or less.
$5 sounds pretty fair, but it could also be 0. Moving on to issue 4, Cryptsy judgment. A Florida judge has handed down a decision in the class action lawsuit against Cryptsy by its customers. Cryptsy, the now legendary altcoin exchange, has been ordered by the judge to pay its customers $8.2 million in damages. The only problem is the CEO, Paul Vernon, believed to be somewhere in Asia, has not responded to the complaint. Blake Anderson, will the Cryptsy users ever see any of their funds again?
That's the thing about the new Wild West of crypto and all that stuff, because it's, censorship resistant money, which is good. But also, like, if you go and get a court settlement and like you use the law to, figure out justice, and, if you want to get your money back, like let's say from Butterfly Labs for totally like mining on your equipment and making just a ton of money, trying to actually use the legal system to go and actually get your hands on that value and get it back can be very, very difficult. If somebody is clearly a criminal and they're abroad and they need to be brought back and they need to play ball to try to get their freedom, maybe you can get some of those coins out of them. But somebody that's just done some kind of a scam where it's we can garnish your wages but we can't really put you in prison, it's like, well, my wages are in Bitcoin, so go lay an egg, and that might be an issue.
Jeffrey Jones, do you have any money in Cryptsy? You're going to see it again.
Oh my gosh, these exchanges. When your exchange trades like over 50 different freaking coins that you've never heard of, the odds are of it being around in a year become that much less likely. So these types of exchanges that just have all of these altcoins, which is why I would agree with Tone, where he's like, why the hell did Coinbase ever start supporting other coins? Look what it did look what happened when they started supporting Ethereum. We had the freaking Ethereum split and they lost tons of money and confidence. And so it's really a really good giveaway. when to show how many coins an exchange actually supports. If it's just a ton of coins, you know, again, it is early days too, because, you know, we're people are trying to make money and things like that. But over time, you're going to see these exchanges hold less and less coins because of the liability. And some exchanges don't want to exit scam. You know, there's some exchanges like Bittrex and others, and, you know, that are doing pretty decent. But when you start holding enough altcoins, there will be some kind of vulnerability eventually. You can try to protect as much as you want, but there's going to be something that you're not going to be able to predict, like the Ethereum Classic split and things like that, that's going to happen and screw up your exchange. So if you're not running from regulation, if you're not running from hackers, if you're not running from Russian mobs or whatever with drug money, you know, with crazy stuff like that, something is going to get you the more.
You forgot Lucky 7 coin. Remember Lucky 7 coin that was like a Trojan in the very like design of its software wallet or whatever? Like, yeah, you got to be clever and sharp.
And it's worth noting, if you're a trader and you have a bad feeling about the exchange, don't leave your money in there overnight. There's no reason to take unnecessary risks. I remember one time I logged into an exchange where the interface felt kind of clunky, like an old PHP app, and the name just didn't seem right. And years later, we found out that exchange was Mt. Gox. Tone Vase, your thoughts on the Cryptsy judgment?
Well, I'm going to actually follow up with what you said with Coinbase taking this on. I remember when Coinbase started listing altcoins, and I was making fun of them. And what I said, well, Coinbase was intimately involved in the Cryptsy scam because they cashed out Paul Vernon's millions of dollars.
Essentially like BTC-e cashing out the Mt. Gox hack.
Exactly. So you would think that if any exchange is intimately familiar of what happens running an altcoin exchange, it would be Coinbase. And my view was, maybe Coinbase wants to exit scam like Cryptsy did, so to have all these coins, right? So we'll see what that brings them. In addition, oh man, I was gonna say something else. I already forgot on that front. How did you start off? What was the
Cryptsy judgment, Coinbase?
Oh yeah, the judgment. Okay, so obviously you're not getting any of that back. I mean, you're not getting any of that money back. Oh, this is what I was gonna say. So right now, what happens with Poloniex would give you don't have to do KYC in order to withdraw up to $2,000 worth of crypto a day. And this was perfectly fine for many people until Ethereum went up 20x, and like Litecoin went up like 10x, and Monero went up, and everything went up. So you have actually a lot of people with significant amount of money sitting on Poloniex, and Poloniex isn't doing anything to KYC them, so they are unable to withdraw money off of that exchange, and they're getting real nervous. I don't know if you've seen these stories on Reddit. They are coming out as well with this. Like, people are like really getting nervous because they're trying to get Poloniex to KYC them, but they're just not responding, which makes people even more nervous. I think this is going to be a bad cycle, and it's a self-fulfilling cycle, because if one guy doesn't get his payout, he starts a Reddit thread saying that they're getting ready to exit scam. Other people start panicking, and then all of a sudden they force the panic onto Poloniex. And you're sitting there going, well, if people are coming after me with pitchforks, I might as well run away with the money. So, and speaking of which, I am actually going to check my account one more time, because 2 hours ago, there was a payment sent to me from Coinbase. Oh, yeah. And I'm still waiting for it. And
Coinbase is not a wallet.
Well, Coinbase has a wallet, right? And if you have your Bitcoin at Coinbase, it should be an instant payment. It may not confirm instantly, but it should notify the other party instantly. It has now been 2.5 hours since a payment was sent to me from Coinbase and from a person, and it's not coming in. And that person happens to have a colleague that said that they sent the payment about 7 hours ago, and that payment still hasn't notified the other party that there's a payment coming in. So let's see. Am I about to start a panic and a run on the bank on Coinbase? You heard it here first. Real live news that payments from the Coinbase wallet are taking at the minimum 2.5 hours to even notify the receiving party that there's a payment coming in.
Every time I talk something to look around this industry in a few years and just see a series of exit scams, because what you're saying is right. Once you've had some kind of an error or a hack or 30%, 20% of the funds are gone. Maybe an airplane's flying over your house really low. But once you've had that happen, there's almost no reason not to exit scam. You're going to be accused of an exit scam. You're not going to be able to prove your innocence. And if you take the money and run, at least you have the money.
But I always take it back to, like, if you're accused of cheating by your wife or your girlfriend, and if she's 100% sure you've cheated, at that point, you might as well go and do it, right? Because what's the point? If you're going to be accused of it anyway, you might as well reap the rewards, I guess, right?
I don't know about that. My favorite parable for that is, like, if you're a child and your parents are mad at you for doing something that you didn't do, and they're really mad at you, then go do it. I don't know if cheating is the same thing, but I definitely would say that, if your parents get mad at you for something you didn't do, go and do it.
Well, let's not start signing up for Ashley Madison just yet. Let's move on to the exit question. How many more Bitcoin exchanges will have to collapse until people stop storing their coins on exchanges? Jeffrey Jones.
Many, many more, unfortunately.
Tone Vays.
Yeah, this isn't going to stop. I mean, we could have been asking this question, before Bitcoin came into existence, like Bernie Madoff. Like, let's see how many more hedge funds are going to run away with people's money and stuff.
Enron.
Yeah, Enron, exactly. Enron. I mean, I worked at Bear Stearns. I mean, these things are coming. I mean, just we'll see what happens next. We'll see how many of these traditional companies that are now being disrupted by technology. Let's see how many of them are, running on Ponzi schemes and promising people all their pensions are there and then nothing.
Blake Anderson.
Well, definitely at least a few more. Like every time I talk to my dad about Bitcoin, he'll be like, well, did anybody replace Coinbase yet? Is anybody competing with them yet? And I'll be like, no, Dad. He's like, the second somebody replaces that with something that works well, it's going to be to the moon. And he's not an expert in the space or anything, but it's funny because he feels very strongly that way. And I mean, it's tough to disagree with him too harshly. I mean, now that Charles Lee isn't at Coinbase anymore, it's really hard for me to find good things to say about them on a daily basis. So, I mean, I appreciate all the work that they've done and stuff, but I think they need to really start getting it together in terms of scaling and not, having slow transactions during these really visceral up and down times, because the transactions going in and out and being able to, liquidate and buy back in during these visceral up and down times, that's key. We need to get that user experience down. And then that's, that I think that Coinbase is actually a roadblock in that regard. I don't know why they don't seem to care about getting that right, but they just really don't seem to.
It's unbelievable. And I understand there's a risk of theft, but there needs to be an app that's on your iPhone that you scan your credit card, types your name in, and you buy Bitcoins 5 minutes later. That's it. No more steps. That's it. App's over. We did it. Show's over. We're moving on to predictions or a story of the week. Blake Anderson, are you ready with a prediction or a story of the week?
Yeah, I guess my story of the week is that I was contacted by Johns Hopkins University to potentially do a talk about the future in 10 years at their university, which would be really, really, really cool. 10 years is really conjecturally deep into the what if bag. So I guess that what I would talk about is the version of the future that we're going to get if we reorganize around sound money and markets, or the version of the future that we're going to get if we continue to allow human action to be diffused through inflation. And I'm really excited about that. Obviously, Johns Hopkins University is extremely prestigious, and they contacted me. And first thing I did was, email to my dad, who was like, "I'm proud of you, son." So that's my story of the week. I'm on cloud 9, and I feel really, 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 really happy as an autodidact and as somebody that tried to teach myself as much as I could, that tried to study things that I thought were cool and interesting. That's kind of to be invited anywhere to talk about anything when that was your goal is really, really special for me, and I feel happy about that. So that's my story of the week.
Great job, Blake, and congratulations on the speaking agreement. We look to see it soon. Jeffrey Jones, your story of the week.
I guess my story of the week would just be I just wanted to give so much, thanks and props to all of the content creators out in the space, because I'm just seeing the numbers go crazy, from all sorts of different shout outs to Adam Meister and, even I'm Not Your Lawyer, Jason Siegel, Tone Vays, just so many people out there our Benny, Benny P, even there's just so many people out there that I'm seeing all their numbers completely raised, over 10,000 subscribers. Everybody in the space, their Twitter followers are going up. I looked at Tour de Meester's followers the other day. They're over 30,000 followers. Like, everybody in the space is just completely being uplifted with the price and with the innovation and with the information that is going around, that Bitcoin is just bringing to people, that Bitcoin is forcing people to research. And so I guess I just got to say, just big props, big thanks to everybody, like, so much. Like, thank you guys so much for the views. Thank you so much for the comments. One of my shows recently went over 11,000 views. Like, the space is taking off, and I'm just so excited to be at the forefront of it, and to be talking to you guys and to bringing you guys the truth. And we just are just absolutely thankful for you guys and your support with the WCN and all of us.
Indeed, very exciting times. Tone Vase, story of the week.
I'm going to follow up on that. And I crossed 10,000 Twitter followers around like the beginning of the month. I don't remember which month, either the beginning of this month or the beginning of last month. And I'm almost at 20,000 Twitter followers already. It's insane how it's picking up right now. So both my predictions and story of the week were covered. I covered them. I guess I said them too early. I talked about my price prediction in that we're going to meander for the next couple of days. We're going to be sitting right at all-time high. And the moment BTC-e is boop, the price of Bitcoin is going to shoot up. I'm looking at $4,000 to $5,000 and then a dip in September. That's kind of my long-term price prediction. My story of the week is what happened this morning with Coinbase not sending Bitcoin on behalf of their people, of their wallet. Let's see how that ends. And to follow up what Blake said on the speaking calendar, yesterday I was added to two upcoming events. One is over in Toronto. It's a Toronto Bitcoin meetup. It's going to be very good. The title is Ethereum versus Bitcoin. I was just added to a panel to talk there. And from there, I'm shooting straight over to Russia. And I'll speak in St. Petersburg. I believe that one is August 16th. And the Toronto one is August 14th. So if you're in those cities, I will be at those events. I mean, just Google them and come out and say hi.
Ethereum versus Bitcoin. That's not a fair fight. I'd just like to thank everybody for watching. Remind everyone to give us a thumbs up and a share, to go and subscribe down below. Thanks to everyone for putting up with the advertisements. We're doing really well on views, and we hope that'll help us do really well on ads. If you don't like ads, give YouTube Red a try. That also donates money to the people that you watch, or get an ad blocker. If you'd like to support our Patreon campaign, we've got the link down below. Next week, we hope to start recognizing patrons more. So if you want to be a part of that, donate now. As always, we're going to show our Bitcoin address at the end. But it's been a really fun week with Tone in San Francisco, and we've got Jeff out here now. And I'd just like to ask everybody out there, if you're in San Francisco and you want to hang out with us tonight, we're going to my buddy, Jackson Palmer, creator of Dogecoin. You might have heard of him. We're going to his decentralized drinks tonight at around 5:30 at Zeitgeist. Come on down.
We've been discussing it. There will be amazing changes coming to the World Crypto Network. So definitely listen out for announcements. Things are going to get great. We want to be the crypto channel in the space, and we're about to start doing amazing things here.
Stay tuned.
Watch Anchorman to come.
Working on a lot of new ideas and stuff. So we just want to show you one more time the donation address. We'd like to send a few Bitcoins. Go ahead and pause the screen. But we're out of time. Until next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.